Welcome to Chasing Epiphanies, where knowledge is power, and I'm not drunk, you're drunk. Also, I'm reviewing My Heroes Have Always Been Junkies. And also, Allied. In honor of this comic, I decided to record this while having myself a drink. Let's see how well that turns out. As for what I'm drinking, I've got a Stone Scorpion Bowl IPA here. Indecent personal assistant. Indiscriminate poultry agitator. Irresponsible phantom agnosticism. I don't know what any of those things are, but I'm gonna have a taste of it. My Heroes Have Always Been Junkies, or MHABs for short, is a fitting title. It's the story of a teenage girl and her apparent fixation with great artists that in one way or another were addicts. We're first introduced to Ellie as she's standing by the beach, reminiscing about a poem by Stevie Smith, sung by Vic Chestnut. Nobody heard him, the dead man, but still he lay moaning. I was much further out than you thought, and not waving, but drowning. There's a certain je ne sais quoi about the lyrics that she can't help but be impacted by. Looking further into it, I found that Stevie Smith herself described the poem as a way to express how, when people are drowning, asking for help, people can mistake it for someone just waving. And similarly, in regular life, there are those who are waving and having a laugh on the outside, but actually dying on the inside. Well, that's an intro with a lot to unpack. A good chunk of this book is similar in how it drops numerous references on you, as if giving you an invitation to research them on your own time. Usually I'm of the opinion that a story that requires research beyond the main text isn't a good sign, but in cases like this you're not required to look up anything to understand what's going on. The story still stands on its own. You know how there are some stories that you enjoy in the moment, but when you start thinking about them you realize they're not all that great. Well, then there are stories like this, that leave you with enough breadcrumbs that will lead you to explore new things, thus letting you appreciate it all the more. In other words, this is the kind of story that can actually get better after you've thought about it. Ed Brubaker's writing here flows like a perfect stream of consciousness as we follow Ellie into a rehab clinic, hearing her narration every step of the way. Here she finds a number of characters, though one that quickly sticks out is Skip. A guy who's been given one last chance by his family to straighten himself out. To accomplish this, he's set a goal for himself. To sober up so he won't lose access to his family's money, so that one day he can just buy himself a boat and kick back and enjoy life. His problem is, he's already kind of into me, and I'm a bad influence, with no intention of being anything else. And with that red flag raised for all readers to see, we can already feel that this won't end in a good place. The question is if that ending will be a dark one or a bittersweet one. Kinda like this beer. All I'll say is that sometimes a downward spiral like this can be a fascinating ride. We learn about Ellie's past and her thoughts on these junkies that she looks up to, revealing plenty about her way of thinking as she gets more and more involved with Skip. Rebellious as she is, she expresses her rather sympathetic view on drugs with him, blurring the line of being a devil's advocate or just a straight-up tempting devil. I ask of ya, why do we idolize junkies? We all know the story well enough already, almost as if it's a modern myth, part of the collective unconscious as it were. An innocent and talented kid is thrust into the limelight, their rich and famous lifestyle starts to warp their view of the world, until eventually we learn they've become hooked on something self-destructive. It doesn't have to end badly, but we certainly do remember the tragedies the most. We know it's tragic and not an end anyone should aspire to, but damn do they make it look sexy. If I may get on my soapbox for just a second, one of my biggest convictions about life in general is that human beings tend to be social and emotional first, logical and moral second. This is something most of us can see in how we'll tell any homeless person, "Sorry, can't help you, got nothing to spare." But if the person in question is a friend or a family member, we'll go much further when trying to give a helping hand. Even if we don't like that person much, simply feeling like we know them will usually be enough to feel some connection. Now apply that same logic to the archetypical image of the superstar addict. If you feel like you know them after hearing them express themselves through music or poetry, that can build a parasocial relationship with them, aka a one-sided relationship where one person isn't even aware of the other. I could imagine something like that would affect how we view that person and how we treat their problems. There are plenty of great artists out there who don't do drugs. But some great artists, even if they only became addicts after they attained a more rich and famous lifestyle, will often be portrayed as savants that couldn't possibly have made such great work if not for their drug use. Not saying it can't give you a unique experience to draw inspiration from, but I do hate the implication that art made sober is somehow inferior. However, like that poem at the start of this comic, all this playfulness we see on the outside doesn't necessarily reflect what's on the inside of our characters. The plot twists ahead will be for you to discover. I'd honestly say this is the best comic I've read in a long while. Drawn by Sean Phillips and colored by his son Jacob Phillips. The artwork is absolutely gorgeous, from the environments that have this dreamlike quality to the expressions of the characters that always manage to capture these minor subtleties conveying complex emotions. It's awesome. It's the kind of story you need to experience yourself to truly feel the colorful yet melancholic atmosphere. I'd say that about sums up what you need to know and what thoughts it brought to my mind. So I'll catch you in the next one. And always remember, intelligence is sexy. So be the sexy you. Read a book. Well, the beer has gone stale, so it tastes worse than it usually does. How many people usually do these kind of drunk reviews, I wonder?
Oi, there are plot twists ahead, Captain.
The art is absolutely gorgeous from the very first environments and later... What? The artwork is absolutely gorgeous from the environments that... From the environments that have this dreamlike quality to them, to the expressions of the characters that always manage to capture those minor subtleties. What the fuck is a minor?